following essay will argue that Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction should continue to be acknowledged and remarked as an innovative and influential milestone in the art of storytelling. To demonstrate this, several examples of the film's innovations in form, content, and how these advancements have influenced the future of filmmaking will be discussed. Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction offers a renewed and innovative take on modern-day storytelling. However, while doing so, Tarantino leaves himself and his screenplay open to the ideals and style of conventional cinema, allowing the film to hold a middle ground between traditional narrative and experimentation. Pulp Fiction provides a picturesque presentation of the sustained conventions of Hollywood cinema, but with a fresh and lurid coat of modern culture. This is perhaps most apparent during Vincent Amir's date to Jackrabbit Slims. We find the characters immersed within this world, like Tarantino referencing at every opportunity.
That is Marilyn Monroe. That is Mamie Van Doren.
One of the most notable disruptions of conventional storytelling witnessed throughout Pulp Fiction is its use of achronological, non-linear narrative. Tarantino dispensed the conventional chronology that moviegoers are most familiar with, and in doing this, he was able to organize the story in a manner that heightened the drama. Pulp Fiction's shift in temporality complements shifts in tone that can challenge complacent viewing. Many of the relationships that exist within Pulp Fiction are only possible due to the film's relationship with time. Interactions are able to remain outside the ideological sense of time due to the film's ability to suspend it, meaning that characters are able to pause time while they play out relationship progressions.
Time you got?
7:22 in the a.m.
No, ain't quite time yet. Come on, let's hang back.
The complex relations between characters lead to another example of Pulp Fiction's innovation in form, that being its use of multi-protagonist-driven story. In order to effectively communicate such a robust story, while still providing entertainment to the audience, Tarantino exchanges a hierarchical casualty-bound structure for one in which narrative importance is spread over the travails of several characters. Pulp Fiction is constantly operating on several layers for differing perspectives, dialectically portraying to the audience parallel narratives, while subjectively advancing the story. During the opening of the film, we see Jules lay my vengeance upon a group of young men. By the second act, Jules considers a life beyond being a hitman, and during the conclusion of the film, we see him as a changed man, offering forgiveness and salvation towards the couple attempting to rob the diner. However, even though one character follows a positive transformation due to the film's multiple protagonists, the overall tone of the film doesn't change. The interconnection between characters is what bounds the world of Pulp Fiction together. Recognizable faces interacting with each other, functioning as subtle marks on a timeline. While the film establishes its own sense of reality that heeds linear time, but adheres, in essence, to emotion. These characters interact with one another mainly once they have progressed to a certain emotional state, and only when it is most effective for them to do so. Due to this process, the audience is most invested in each character at their time of furthest progression. Tarantino constructs a three-story narrative, wherein a character may be the focus of one story, a supporting player in another, and a background player in the third.
You don't be giving Marcellus Wallace's new bride a foot massage.
While Pulp Fiction displays many modernizations in form, it also offers as much innovation in its use of content. Perhaps the most highly regarded of these innovations would be its use of stylized dialogue. In a world filled with hitmen and mob bosses, one may think that gunfights and action set pieces would be the primary source of displaying motives and redirecting the focus of the story. However, in Pulp Fiction, the verbal set piece takes precedence over the action set piece. There is very little silence in Pulp Fiction. And even where there is silence, it is immediately pointed out by the characters themselves.
Uncomfortable silences. Why do we feel it's necessary to yak about bullshit?
Vincent and Jules are professional killers. The lives of the men they are about to murder means nothing more than a paycheck. Yet, we learn to empathize with them because they are portrayed to us like common men.
What do they call it?
They call it Royale with cheese.
Pulp Fiction is constantly functioning on different levels, for the action happening within the story is quite often that of a metaphysical form. Spectacle and action paradoxically take the form of dialogue and monologue. The dialogue of this form would not function, let alone survive, in the world of classical cinema. Tarantino was aware of this, and hence created a realm that was saturated in the pulp, where culture and coolness flooded the streets, and as a result, the style of dialogue coming from the characters were just repercussions of this. In doing so, he reinvented screen language, and created a space for others to make the sort of films that probably wouldn't have otherwise been made. In conclusion, Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, for its innovations in form, including that of its use of a non-linear narrative and multi-protagonist driven story, combined with its innovations in content, comprising of its hyper-stylized dialogue and characters, ultimately created a new wave of independent cinema. Due to Tarantino's creativeness, radical methods, and acceptance of Hollywood conventions, Pulp Fiction was able to redefine classical cinema and produce a new milestone in storytelling.